The year is 2047, a century of technological revolution. The revolution did happen, just not really the way people thought it would.
Hi there, I'm Mandy from the Deadly Dames Horror Extravaganza, and today I'm here with Guy Roger Duvert. I hope I got your name correct there.
Yeah, it's good. Actually, it's pronounced Guy Roger Duvert in French.
Oh, see, it's a Scottish accent, but you keep me right. And today we're doing an interview with you with regards to your movie, 2047 Virtual Revolution. Yeah. Although over here in the UK, I think it's Virtual Reality.
Yeah. So the title is not exactly the same in every country. So basically, in the UK, it's 2047 virtual reality, I think.
Yes, I've got a copy of it. So yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And it's for the
States and Canada. It's 2047 virtual revolution, and in most other countries, it's just virtual revolution.
Virtual Revolution, and it's for the channel the Geek Legion of Doom. But thank you very much for joining us today to do this interview.
It's a pleasure.
So I've got a few questions to go over with you. So firstly, you wrote and directed this movie, and would you like to give us a quick rundown of the premise of the movie?
Sure. So the story is set in Paris, in Neo Paris, in 2047. And we describe a society where 75% of the population spend all the time online inside virtual worlds that could be described as a mix between what video games looks like today and what the Matrix look like. So basically it's video games, but in terms of sensation, there's no differences between virtual and reality. So in this society where like 75% of the population don't care about reality anymore, we have some kind of a dystopian, futuristic society, and we follow the investigation of Nash Trenton, who's kind of a private investigator, private hitman, working for one of the big multinational corporations behind the virtual worlds, and is tracking down terrorists who tried to break down the system.
Perfect. How did you come up with the idea of this film?
So it came actually a long time ago. So it's okay. I wrote the script in 2014, but the idea was there for a long time. It came from an article that I read in 2005, so a while ago. Yeah. It was an article about a video game called EverQuest 2, which is an MMORPG, so it's kind of a barbaric name. It's a massive multiplayer online role-playing games, games such as World of Warcraft.
Okay.
And basically, in these games, you play adventures through an avatar that you create, and in a persistent world. Why persistent? Because unlike other games, when you stop playing, the world is still there, it's still evolving, and there are like thousands of players still doing stuff in it, and it never stops. Which is for me kind of the ancestors of what the virtual worlds will be in the future. And so that article in 2005 was saying that 25% of the players of EverQuest 2 were giving more importance to their virtual life than to real life.
And becoming 25%. More for living in there.
Yeah, exactly. And it was an arcade game. It's on 2D screen. It's with a mouse, a keyboard. We already know how it's going to evolve. We already know that there's going to be no differences of sensation between real and virtual. Like famous scientists such as Kurzweil predicted for the 2030s. 2030s, it's tomorrow. Yeah. So when that happens, it won't be 25%. It will be much more. And that's how the main idea of the film came from. That with a society where 75% of the population would flee inside virtual worlds.
And that was obviously one of the main influences over it. Was there anything else that influenced that movie?
Visually, definitely Blade Runner.
Yeah, I picked up on that one.
Yeah, it's easy to see that one. But basically, it's for a very simple reason: is that I wanted to do a tech noir movie, and the definition of a tech noir movie, is you mix up elements from sci-fi, flying cars, robots, cybernetic processes, stuff like that, and with film noir. Kind of genre. So
I got that one too.
with a moody atmosphere, with it's raining almost all the time. It's the hero is kind of an anti-hero, tending to drink a little bit too much, and so on. You have the femme fatale. So basically, you have all the elements of the film noir and all the elements of the sci-fi film, and that becomes a tech noir film. And the director who created this genre in theater was Ridley Scott with Blade Runner. So basically, Blade Runner is the movie that defined the genre. So of course, I had to follow that influence if I wanted to do a real tech noir movie. But there were some other influences less strong than Blade Runner. But for instance, the anime Ghost in the Shell, or even Akira, stuff like that. Or video games such as Deus Ex.
Okay.
So there were many influences at the end.
Was there many challenges with making a movie with special effects?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge was to make sure that it would look cool and realistic all the time while we didn't have a huge Hollywood budget. So there were many ways of doing that. And one of them is that I almost never used a studio. So we had 6 weeks of shooting and only 1 day of studio. All the rest, it's real location. That, of course, we changed a lot. We had some set designers putting stuff here and there. But all the locations you see in the movie are real. So that's what makes them realistic. And on that, we're going to add up some, VFX here and there. So it looks like definitely sci-fi. But so that one of the secrets we had was not to do like, Star Wars stuff where you have actors in front of a green screen and you create everything. In order to do that, you need a lot of money that we didn't have. So we picked up the totally opposite philosophy to shoot it, and I think it works.
It really worked, because I thought that some of the scenes felt dreamlike when they were when he was going into the virtual reality. It felt like almost like he was going into a dream. And that was where you sat up and you took notice, especially some of the scenes certainly made you open your eyes. When you didn't expect the sequence with the ladies. I think I was like, what's happened here?
Well, most of the time, the audience, I was present to several screenings, and regularly the audience would react at that time.
I can see why. When you were writing the screenplay, did you have a set actors in mind for the roles?
Yes, for some of them, the lead role, Mike Dopwood, who's a great actor who's been working a lot. So a lot on TV for many sci-fi stuff. He was on Battlestar Galactica, he was on Stargate, Atlantis, Stargate Universe, Continuum, Arrow, and so on. And I actually discovered him a while back ago when I was watching Stargate Universe.
Okay.
He had a secondary role, but a recurring one. And it was fascinating by that guy. I thought, fuck, this guy has huge charisma. I'm almost more interested about that character than some more important characters. So at that time, I just contacted him on Facebook. And I told him, look, I love what you do on Stargate Universe. I hope we'll work together one day. Let's keep in touch. And he said, yeah, with pleasure. So let's keep in touch. And when you have a project, call me. And so that's what happened. So basically, I definitely had him in mind for the lead role. And for the rest, no. So for Jen Badler, the iconic actress from the TV show V, who's playing Dina in the film. We got her thanks to a common friend who told me, look, if you have a role that could fit Jane, I'm in touch with her. She's a good friend. Let me know. I said, oh yeah, I actually have a role where she would be perfect. So that's how it happened. And all the other roles, it was like regular traditional auditions, and that's how I found them.
Everybody just fit into place.
Yep.
It was like a
And
dream
some of
cat.
them like super. Oh yeah. I'm really happy about this cat. And actually, several of them got awards for their performance in the film. They were really good in it. So I'm really happy I got them.
And you did the soundtrack for the movie as well. Did you do the soundtrack before or after the screenplay?
So most of it after, but there are some exceptions. There is something that I usually do on my project is that the last scene of the film, I do the music before. Because the last scene of the film is something like very, very important because that's what's going to leave an impact on the viewer. So you really want to nail it. And for that, I prefer to compose the music before. Like this, I have an exact idea of the pace I'm going to give it and stuff like this. So, for instance, the last scene of Virtual Revolution, I remember that when we were shooting it, my DP was a little bit lost. Okay, we're doing it the way you want, but I have to admit that I don't see what you're trying to get with this scene. And I said, don't worry, I have it ready with it. And when he saw it like edited and with the music, it made totally sense to him.
You just had that picture. So, you knew.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's something I do just for the last scene. For the other scenes, I do it, in a very typical way. So the movie is shot, it's edited, and once it's edited, I'm working on the music. There are a few music though that existed before the film. There is a scene, an important scene near the end. I'm not going to say anything because I would spoil a lot, but I think you see which scene I'm talking about with Camille. Okay. And there is a music there that I actually composed several years ago, and initially it's trailer music. So it was used, for instance, for Prometheus trailer. Okay. And I love that music, and I thought it would be great on that scene because I wanted, even if it could be considered as an action scene, I wanted it to be more like a dramatic scene. So it was a perfect music for that. And there are a few other music that existed before. So basically, I'm a director, but I'm also a composer, and I regularly work on stuff as just a composer, and I love that. And so I actually auditioned a few years ago for video games for Assassin's Creed Unity, the one set in Paris. And unfortunately, I was not taken. But the good thing with that is that I could keep my music. And the music I made at that time was, Assassin's Creed, it's a sci-fi story, and it was set in Paris in the past, which is kind of exactly the definition of Virtual Revolution. You have elements, futuristic elements, and kind of old European Parisian elements to it. So I actually used a few music that I had composed for Assassin's Creed in the score of Virtual Revolution.
Perfect.
But I would say it's only. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's only like, I don't know, 2 or 3 tracks. All the other tracks were composed specifically for the film.
I was actually going to say it leads me on perfectly to my next questions, because I was going to say you did start as a composer. What led you to be a director? What made you move that transition to be a director?
I always loved, telling stories. So that's not something new. When I was a kid, I was drawing comic books terribly because I'm not a drawer, but I was, kind of already creating stories. After when I was a student, I was playing role-playing games, and so I would create stories there also. And so I like telling stories. So as I started working as a film music composer, I saw more and more, films, and I learned more and more about this specific language. And eventually, I wanted to give it a try. So I made a first short film more than 10 years ago, which was a very imperfect film. So it was really beautiful, but there were problems in the writing, there were problems in the directing, in the casting. So I made several mistakes there. But as it was beautiful, it still opened doors for me. So I shot like several corporate movies, stuff like this. So that gave me more experience with the camera. And at one moment, I was supposed to direct 4 short movies for 4 different companies. So that was pretty exciting. Okay. And none of them happened. So that's when I took a decision. I said, okay, I'm not touching a camera anymore. I'm going to focus on music. I'm going to make more money with music. And when I made money enough, I'm going to come back to directing, but this time I produce myself. Like this, I know that things will happen. And that's what happened. So for a few years, I didn't touch a camera. I got lucky with my music career, and I got some really big gigs. And I could produce my second short film, which is called Cassandra, which is medieval fantasy film that won that got selected in more than 100 festivals, won 58 awards. So it was a great thing to open new doors. And after I thought, I take that all the mistakes I made in the first one, I wouldn't make them in the second one, because, identifying a problem, it's a good thing, but you need to make sure that you can correct them, which is not a guarantee.
Do you learn from mistakes?
Yeah. Oh, hopefully that's what you try to do. But I wanted to make sure that I was able to correct them. And with Cassandra, I was happy because basically, I could correct all of them. And I felt so, okay, now I feel I'm ready for a feature film. And that's how I made Virtual Revolution.
Perfect. How did it feel to win so many awards on your first feature film? Because was it 49 awards that you won on virtual reality?
No, actually, it's 52. 52,
wow, it's
53.
more now.
Yeah. So, we got a lot of... the festival life was great. So we got
the Internet Movie Database needs to up its game. It was 49, it said. So.
Oh, yes. The mistake. But no, it's 52 or 53. It's really weird because when we count them, sometimes we found 52 and some 53. So there's something wrong in our way of calculating this, but it's basically minimum 52 and maximum 53.
Well, they need to get themselves sorted then because they fell behind. So, but that's fantastic. It's a lot of awards that you have won, so it's obviously doing well, and it's still getting more and more for your first feature film. So, how did it feel to get that many awards? How did it feel to win that many awards in your first feature film?
By definition, it's great. I'm not going to complain about that. No, it was a great feeling to see that the work we made was recognized, and that we made a good movie, because that was the objective. So now, of course, the objective is that the film is going to be seen as much as possible, and that we're going to launch the next project. So that's, it's looking good for that. So
is 2047 Virtual Revolution your prediction of the future?
Yes, it's not going to be exactly like this. There is one thing where we cheated, but it was on purpose, and it's something that's regularly done in sci-fi stuff. It's for the architecture. Basically, in 2047, there won't be the huge futuristic district that I put in the film. So in a way, we cheated on that, but it was because... we wanted to make a sci-fi film, so we wanted it to look beautiful. But for all the rest, I think that, all the hypotheses that we took were realistic. We actually got nominated in some scientific festivals. So that means that the hypothesis must be pretty good. So, we were talking about, of course, we put some flying cars. It's funny because during the screening, some people in the audience said, "Are you sure there's going to be flying cars in 2047?" Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know if you saw it. There's going to be the first flying cars in Dubai, Los Angeles, and Dallas in 2 years.
I've not seen that. But finally, get Back to the Future flying cars.
So it's not going to be exactly the same. They will look more like some kind of drones. But it's coming. It's coming, definitely. So. There's a lot of the technology itself about virtual reality. I think it's a realistic stance on it. So basically, what we have right now for virtual reality, it's what I would call step one, is you're going to use your own body for the perception. So, for instance, they put you a helmet, but your eyes are going to see what the helmet is showing you. Your ears are going to hear what and so on and so on. And the next step is that we're going to send the information directly into your brain. And when that happens, that's when there will be no differences of sensation between real and virtual. And some companies right now are already working on it. So the only question there was is there's supposed to be like 3 steps, but we don't know if we will have the step 2. The step 3 is what we see in the film. You just put some kind of a helmet or something that doesn't even touch your head, and the information is going directly to your brain by injection. That's going to be the final step. What we don't know is if we're going to have a step 2 where you will need surgery to be able to benefit from that. But the problem is that many people won't want that. Would you want to have like a hole in your brain? So that was the question. So for some scientists believe that it would be a necessary step, and some others consider no, we need to go directly to induction. And I actually met with some companies who are working right now already for the induction part. So yeah, it's going to happen.
But it's the future. So
yeah, it is, and that's the thing, and that's what I wanted to show in the film, because the film is not like we're black and white, good versus evil people. It shows the 2 positions, the 2 stances, and the 2 of them have good arguments. So basically, virtual reality could be the worst invention ever created by mankind because it's the perfect tool of mass control. If you have all the population, on their video games all the time, not caring about reality anymore, that means that these people are not going to complain anymore because the politicians are corrupted or because they don't do their job. And so it's the perfect tool of mass control. So it's totally evil. But at the same time, it's the best invention ever created by mankind. Because if you think about it, until now, what defined our societies is most of the population was poor, and the best hope the poor could get is, well, maybe the next generation will have it less crappy than I had. That's depressing, and that's what defined all our societies. And virtual reality kind of changes that because everyone will be able to have amazing experiences, amazing lives. So even if you're poor, you can actually travel on a boat as a pirate in the 16th century, or you can visit foreign planets on a spaceship. You can do whatever you want, and it will be real sensations. So that's also the best invention ever. So it's both, and so that's what's making it interesting. Exactly. So that's why, philosophically, it's a fascinating question.
Do you have a sequel in mind? Because I felt that the ending left it open for the possibility of more.
Yeah, definitely. So actually, among the projects we're working on right now, one of them is a TV show based on the film, and there's so much to tell about this world,
there's a bigger world there, and I feel like there's more to be told.
Oh yeah. I mean, just in season 1, so I hope we'll end up
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, me too. And just in season 1, we see so many more virtual worlds because in the film we see a medieval fantasy one and we see a post-apocalyptic futuristic one. But for instance, just in season 1, we see also kind of Pirates of the Caribbean kind of virtual world. We see Italian Renaissance in Venice. We see Western. There's no limit. Like the sky is the limit with it. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. So hopefully it will.
That's good news. I think I'd like to see more there. And that actually kind of answers my next question because I wanted to know what your next projects were, and you've kind of just answered that.
So that's one of them actually. Yeah. That's not the only one.
Oh, there's
so
more.
There is because there is this TV show. So I really want it to happen because that could be big. I mean, I'm talking about like Westworld kind of big. So that could be really huge. But it's possible that it is going to take time. Hopefully it will go fast, but I'm prepared to the fact that it's going to take time. So I'm also working on new feature films, which are easier, and is not the word, but it can be done faster. And so I have a few of them on the pipe, and one of them is a new sci-fi film with similarities and differences with Virtual Revolution. It's more or less the same time period, mid 21st century, around 2050. But it's not about the same technology, so it's not about virtual reality. And it's not a tech noir movie. So, you know, Virtual Revolution is very like moody, very, you know, Blade Runner like. The new one will be more action based.
Okay.
So more fast paced. It's about a guy who's going to be at the same time hunted and hunter, and he has one night only for that. So there is more rhythm to it. So it's a different kind of movie, and at the same time, same genre. So
Okay.
and it's looking good. We have like several investors interested in the film, so we need to make sure we have the good cast for it, and we can greenlight it and move on. So again, crossing fingers and knocking on
Sounds
wood
very
very strongly.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us.
That was a pleasure.
We loved the movie. As I said, we all loved it, every one of us that watched it, and I've got a copy sitting over there. So it's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was mine, and thank you very much for liking our work. So.
Oh, yeah, we loved it. And you have a lovely night.
You too.
Take care.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.